Today we're looking at a game so rad they named a whole video game company after it. And also it's been on a billion trillion pirate multicarts, so sure, why not? I could think of worse games to name a company after. City Connection, released in 1988 for the Nintendo Entertainment System and based on the 1985 arcade game of the same name, courtesy of Jellico. And the first thing I have to ask is, who in the blue balls is this dude? I don't remember this dude before. Oh, right, this is the American version, the localized version. I don't know this. Because I've played this mostly on multicarts and it didn't have all this stuff. It didn't have the white title screen. It didn't have blonde American man Steve Rogels. It counted kilometers and not miles. Nah, man, this doesn't work for me, brother. We gotta change this. Samash Papamoshti. No, we're changing this shit. Hold on. This is City Connection, released in 1985 for the Nintendo Family Computer courtesy of Jellico and based on the arcade game of the same name that was released earlier that year. One of many games to grace many Famicom and NES pirate multicart things, which was the first time I played this thing back in the day. In City Connection, you play as Clarice, young teenage owner of a Honda City hatchback that's equipped with white paint to mark the roads traveled as she goes on a world tour of sorts, all the while avoiding all the local authorities who are none too pleased with her blatant vandalism of public property. So for some reason it took Jellico 3 years to bring this over the NES, and what they did was drop Clarice for Steve, added in some plot about how you're on the run after robbing a paint shop. The cans of paint you stole are leaking, which at least explains the roads turning white, so kudos for that, I suppose. Oh, and once you clear a stage, Steve pauses for a quick smoke. I mean, why are you shocked by this? They had cigarettes and Metal Gear on NES, for crying out loud. Besides, I'm amazed they didn't edit this out of the Nintendo Classics re-release because it's still there. We're playing that right now. And yeah, other than a couple graphical changes, both games pretty much play the same way in both regions, so whatever. So you're traveling along each stage, marking all the roads white while avoiding all the cop cars trying to kill you. And yes, in both versions, if you run into a cop car, you explode into hearts. Makes sense in one version, not so much in the other, but let's just go with it because who really cares? Anyway, once every bit of road on the stage is painted white, you move on to the next stage, which is set in a different city, and you lather, rinse, repeat the whole process all over again. Now, you're not entirely defenseless. Scattered throughout the stage are oil cans that you can collect to shoot at cop cars to stun them, during which you can bump them off the road, and if you stun multiple cars, you could bump a chain of them off for big points. There are also cats on the road that you have to avoid or else you lose a life, and sometimes there will be balloons that will appear on screen, and collecting 3 of these will allow you to skip ahead a couple stages, which is always nice. City Connection, I hear, is often considered to be a classic game. Again, there must be merit to this because there's a video game company called City Connection that is named after this very title. And there have been fans of this NES/Famicom edition of City Connection in particular, and also some detractors as well.
This game should be used to torture people on death row! This is the only fucking
Wonder how that fellow's doing these days. The one thing you have to acclimate yourself to is control, which is fine for the most part, but takes a while to get a hang of, particularly in regards to jumping, which can be done by pressing A to leap over traffic and gaps in the road, or you can reach a higher level by holding up while pressing A. However, if you make a turn, you'll pull off a brief wheelie that'll keep you from jumping for a bit, which is awfully inconvenient if you're going for the high ground, as it were. So there's an aspect to City Connection that might stumble a few players at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually not too bad. You have a number of stages that you'll loop through after a while if you get good, though other than the layouts, you're pretty much doing the same deal throughout, which is fine and all. You could play 1 or 2 player alternating play, and there's no tobacco poisoning to be found here. At least not yet. City Connection's not a bad looking game. Nowhere near as colorful as the arcade original, obviously, but you've got a decent variety of backgrounds for each city and a number of distinct looking police vehicles to pursue you. There is quite a bit of sprite flickering that occurs with too many cars on the same track, and the scrolling isn't exactly smooth either, but on the bright side, there's little to no slowdown. I will say that for the NES release, you do get different victory mugshots for Steve here after clearing certain stages, whereas in the Famicom release, you only get the stock Clarice mugshot. That is the brilliance of 3 years later in that you have mapper technology that lets you produce more victory screens. On that note, sound is adequately outputted if I can be generous here. City Connection has 2 music tracks that alternate between stages. Both are simplistically composed iterations of a couple decent arcade tracks, which are simply variations of Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto 1 B-flat minor, but the arcade original had more than 2 stage themes, so a bit of a downgrade to 8-bit. I also don't care for the sound effects, close to arcade maybe, but not quite as pleasant sounding on NES. It's just the way it is, I suppose. Overall, City Connection is fine, I guess. You drive a little car, you paint roads white, you adjust to somewhat wonky jumping, and after a while it starts to grow on you. Not an all-time great game or anything, but fun for a lark, I suppose. It's on Nintendo Classics if you want a sample. Last I checked, the NES cart was pretty cheap, and the game is also available on a variety of vintage multi-cart things. You might like it, you might not, but no matter what happens, please do not take your frustrations out on your copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 the arcade game. At the end of the day, it's not that game's fault that you suck at City Connection.